A dog will react no matter what. Like you can shake a rubber steak in front of the dog and the dog will still get excited because you're giving him a little bit of attention. But a cat, it's not about attention, it's about interest. And it's only if the cat's really interested in you will it actually take any action. I know you're a cat person, correct?
Yeah, okay. I am. Probably.
Okay.
Yes.
And what's interesting is, if Pavlov had done these experiments with cats, right, all marketing probably would have been differently because, I throw the advertising bell on and people buy it. That might have worked 60 years ago.
Yo, guys, what is up? This is your boy, John. I've always got some of the smartest people on this podcast. That's why we call it the smartest podcast. Not only because I'm probably the smartest podcast host you ever say, no, but no, for real. I've got on the other line, man, Bryan Eisenberg. And Bryan, why don't you tell people who you are and why we should listen to you?
Well, let's start real simply. For the last almost 3 decades, I have spent my lifetime focused in on helping companies understand why their customers buy and have helped them increase their revenues by over $10 billion. Everything from companies like Google, HP Enterprise, Overstock, JP Morgan Chase, all the way down to shops that are on the main street.
That's crazy, man. I mean, yeah, and you 30 years?
Almost 30 years of being an entrepreneur and focused in on sales and marketing. But it's probably longer when I really think about it, right? I've been spending a lot of time the last few weeks really thinking about my origin story, just like every superhero has an origin story.
Right.
And for me, it came when my brother had attended a conference and he was an investment banking and finance guy. So he was always the numbers guy, but he realized he really wanted to have a relationship with me because he had no kind words to say to me. But he moved out by the time I was like 13. We had no relationship. And so, here he is, I'm about 25. His focus is he wanted to have a relationship. And I was in graduate school for social work, right? And for me, I was trying to understand, why people with, schizophrenia or paranoid schizophrenia or manic depression, what drove them? What made them decide to do the things they did and how I can help them? And so, my job on a daily basis was to, help people take their medicine and shower and do their daily life skills who didn't quite have the same perception of life that we did, right? And when you realize that that's been my whole passion about understanding why people do the things they do, right? And yes, everybody always focuses on sales part. And I like to kind of like that map behind me, right? It's an upside down map. I like to flip that perspective, kind of like Jeff Bezos says it as well in his book, Everything Store. It says, I'm not in the business of selling books. I'm in the business of helping people buy books. And so I'm in the business of helping my customers get their customers to buy from them. Simple.
Yeah, it came to me that one day we're sitting in somewhere and having a conversation, and I was talking about how you got into this and your long career and the books you guys have written, and then you kind of said something that kind of blew my mind, that you almost, I don't know if you actually said you coined the term, but you were definitely at the beginning of conversion rate optimization.
No, I coined the term. We also coined the term bounce rate. Didn't exist before Jim Novo and myself. Oh yeah, no, very, very, very early on doing this stuff.
Dang, I wish I'd have known you because I'd have trademarked that stuff and you get a nickel every time somebody uses it.
we ended up trademarking the wrong terms. We trademarked persuasion architecture and a couple of others, but yeah, we didn't do those. Look, when we got in this industry, it's kind of the same as today. Our number one focus wasn't on making money. Our number one focus was really on making an impact, right? And we set out to pioneer an industry of helping people sell online because you remember the internet back then. It was sock puppets. It was You write a business plan as long as it was, you know, halfway as thick of my last book, it got funded. Like it didn't matter, right? No matter how crazy the idea was. But for us, it was always about, well, how are you solving the customer's needs? Because the internet was going to change the way people buy fundamentally. It's just pure fact. And we knew it, and we still know it. And it's amazing. You look at companies today, and you watch the way they act, and you realize they still don't get it.
Yeah. It's always, what is it that they don't get? What is it that they don't get?
Fundamentally, you know, it's crazy that in 2006, we published Waiting for Your Cat to Bark. Okay. And the premise of that book, by the way, we had the title before we had the story for the book, but that's a whole different story. The premise was real simple. All marketing and advertising have followed the rules, basically since the 1920s, of Pavlov's experiments, right? He rang the bell, you get the dog to salivate, and all of a sudden he's gonna jump on things, okay? And all marketers from, you know, Ross or Reeves on through have started with that premise. And we asked, wait a minute, what if our customers actually not really like a dog? Because a dog will react no matter what. Like you can shake a rubber steak in front of the dog, and the dog will still get excited because you're giving him a little bit of attention. But a cat, it's not about attention, it's about interest. And it's only if the cat's really interested in you will it actually take any action. I know you're a cat person, correct?
Yeah, okay. I am. Probably. Okay. Yes.
And what's interesting is, you know, if Pavlov had done these experiments with cats, right, all marketing probably would have been differently because, yeah, I throw the advertising bell on and people buy. That might have worked 60 years ago when there weren't that many products, there wasn't that many things competing for our attention. And today, we're still struggling with marketers thinking it's all about the logo, the colors they use. They don't realize that it's really about understanding what matters to the cat. Because if not, they're not going to get any attention, they're not going to get any interest, and they're certainly not going to get any action.
And that's kind of one of the things you have helped, and you always talk about, is really just, it's so much deeper. And I guess, like you said, as the internet keeps growing and growing, and the attention span of people is, I don't even know. We used to say you had to hook them in 3 seconds, and I heard that term this weekend. 3 seconds, 3 seconds. I'm like, I don't even know if you get a 3 second. That might be still gratuitous.
Well, what's happened is, you know, in every marketing medium, even in like early radio, they measured it. It was 8 seconds that you had to capture people's attention or they'd leave. Okay. The difference is today, you know, because we can scroll on the phone so quickly. Yeah, it's a microsecond. If like you don't get them right away, they can just go on to the next, because their options for entertainment, for information, for products is so vast compared to what started, you know, 60 years ago. Right? Think about it, as marketers, you know, even 25 years ago, all we had to worry about was 1 or 2 channels. Now there's 6,000 different sites that we have to worry on, and how we're going to look on Instagram and Instagram Reels, and how we're going to look on TikTok, how we're going to look on Twitter. And it's just insane. And the level to manage that is so much higher. But at the end of it, the only thing that matters is your customer and how they want to buy. And your job is to make it easy for them and to motivate them to want to buy.
All right. How do I get my customers to buy, Bryan? So I know there is, you know, I think people want to overcomplicate and also oversimplify. But I mean, there is some sort of simple kind of, I'm sure you've got the magic sauce, bro.
You know, I don't know if it's magic sauce. I think it's a perspective, and there are techniques we use. Like I just had a conversation with a business owner. He's got like 600 franchisees around the country, and he's in the middle of India right now, riding motorcycles up to like different temples and stuff. And so it was last Friday night. We're having a conversation about his business, and you know, the product he sells is amazing. Like really what it does, it's amazing. Like if everybody knew what he knew about his product and the problems they have, they buy.
Right.
The problem is they're not, because, and it's a roofing product, right? The only time we ever think about the roofs of our house is when they leak or when tiles come flying off.
Yep.
Right. And he's got a product that can help the industry so much. The problem is he's got to explain it to people who really don't think about their roofs at all.
Yeah.
Ever, unless it leaks or they see tiles flying off, that he's got a product that can make it last longer and prevent anything from happening if something, if any leak would happen, right? Like he can rejuvenate the roof and make it last longer. Okay. And you need it because the quality of tile today, the thickness of it is a fraction of what it used to be.
Wow.
Okay? So the problem is you don't know that. I don't know that. I know, you have a couple of homes. You never worry about the roof unless someone tells you there's a problem with the roof.
Yeah.
But what if you knew that they can come out there with a drone, they can see the age of the roof, they can see that it's starting to start losing some of its flexibility, almost like dry skin, it starts cracking and stuff like that. And they can put on a new moisturizer and give it another 5 years. And they can do that multiple times and extend the life of your roof 15 plus years. So I told him, I said, okay, it's great, but most people just don't care. Okay, they don't think about it. They've never thought about it. You spend all your day, even on your vacation, you're still thinking about roofs. I said, you've got to get it to the point where a fifth grader cares and understands.
See, that's what I'm about to say. I mean, just listening to you, I get it. But how do you simplify that? Like you said, in a thumb scroll,
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's what we're in the process of doing, right? We're working on helping them refine the messaging and the creative and what some of the concerns are. And look, it always comes down to hero's journey. Like, who's the enemy? Well, you know who sucks in this industry? Roofers, for one.
Right.
Okay. Excuse me to all my roofer clients. I apologize now. Okay. But the fact of the matter is, it's kind of like, if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? It's the same thing. Roofers are in one business. They're in the business of replacing roofs.
Replace the roof. You need to replace the roof.
Yep. Rip it up, throw it down. That's the only thing they think about. And then the other villain in the industry is the insurance companies.
Yes.
Because a lot of people think that, oh, well, if there's a problem with my roof, the insurance company is going to cover it. Right. But it's not going to cover any of the valuable things that can't be replaced. They're going to take a look at your roof and say, oh, well, it's 15 years old on a 30-year roof. That means it's 50% depreciated. Oh, and did you take care of it? And did you clean up the gut? And they're going to find every excuse not to pay you. So we've got two villains. Okay, well, we can work with that, right? Because we can start getting attention about, hey, these guys suck and they want to suck your money out. Okay, you've got to worry about protecting your own home. And so we're working on that messaging right now with them.
Cool.
But that's it. It's trying to help people understand what's going to trigger their customers to be interested and want to buy. Because I think the biggest lesson from marketing over the last 5 years is how we went from a content mode about, just attention, right? Google was, hey, I'm interested in this now. Let me look at it. So that's based on an attention graph, to a social graph, like, hey, I'm going to get recommendations from you, and I see things and I get new products. Like, hey man, remind me later. I'm going to have to tell you a little bit about the ViTag. Okay. Kind of cool.
Yeah, I got to see that. Okay.
Okay. To what TikTok is an interest graph, right? It's one step further. And so you've got to understand attention and interest if you're going to succeed in TikTok. And it's a whole new world, man. And now we've got AI trying to take our place. Good luck.
How do you stay up on, how do you stay up on the new technologies? I mean, I'm not going to say you're an older dude, but you're kind of my age.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, right. So I mean, what keeps you interested? Why are you aware of all of these new technologies, and how do you stay fresh?
It's it's how you stay fresh in anything. It's the curiosity, right? It's
Right.
always wanting to learn. It's surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, as you well know, right?
Yep.
People who are going to lift you up. And then, of course, watching my kids. I've got a daughter who's 21, getting ready to head out into the world in her first career. She'll be moving out, at the end of the summer, to another city. Watching her buy her first car, right? That was interesting to see how she did it compared to how most other people would do it, right? I remember writing about, my purchasing of a brand new car and waiting for you cat to bark. And from that time and how the internet played a role to this, completely transformational. Some dealers that we went to, not so transformational.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's sometimes you got to get people in these other industries or these older industries, like you say, the car business to like, you guys need to reamp everything, because the way we get the information, we're not jumping in the car, going to your car place, looking around the lot. We're doing a lot of that before we ever
Well,
leave the house.
it's interesting. 2 weeks ago, I had to take my car for service, right? I've got a RAV4, a hybrid. And here I am, I'm gonna be what is it, 53 this year. Okay. I've been to a lot of mechanics in my life. I still miss my old friend Alex, who took care of me since I was 17 until I left Brooklyn. I will miss him every single day. He was the best mechanic on earth. Okay. But I had the most unique experience talking about, evolving for the customer. So I get there and, I can schedule the appointment with my service center, through the app, no problem. Got that all taken care of. I get there, I check in, they send me a text letting me know everything, the service agreement. I can confirm things right through the phone. And while I'm sitting in the waiting room, mind you, they told me it would take about an hour and a half. About 30 minutes later, I'm getting a video from one of the technicians where he showed me how he looked at the air filter, he checked the wipers. Now they're going to go to the oil and jump cut. Now they're showing the oil change. They talk about the tire rotations. And I'm like, man, in 50 plus years, I've never seen a video. And then a few minutes later, I get to things, oh, it's all complete. Now you could just sign off and leave the lot.
I like that. That's awesome. That reminds me of the days when they used to come get you while the car was still sitting up in the air, be showing you, here's where, but now they're doing it on video. That's crazy. Love it.
And it's probably one supervisor who goes around to all the different bays and shoots this video in an app and shares it. And it's like, that's brilliant. And you know what? I took a little snippet of that video and I posted it on social media.
Yeah.
But here's the sad part. I could not find their Instagram account.
See? Wow.
So I couldn't even tag them on it.
Yeah.
Okay. And giving them credit for it, because
the loss.
They did give a great experience. And that's really what it's about. Here's the number one thing. I'm going to give everybody the single biggest tip. And this comes from a tip. This comes from a tip from the new book. Okay.
Cool.
So I don't care whether you're a new entrepreneur or seasoned entrepreneur. Here it is.
We're going to talk about that. Go for it. The rice and beans millionaire.
Excuse me. But there's a chapter in there about budgeting for word of mouth. And I think the biggest mistake that most businesses do is they end up struggling to have margin to be able to create great experiences. It takes people, it takes tools, it takes processes to create great experiences. If you're trying to be the lowest cost provider, you don't have that margin. It's why Walmart, the only stories you ever hear about Walmart are people getting held up and trying to leave the place, right? Yeah. Or the crazy people walking through Walmart because they don't have budget. They have plenty of cash, but they don't have budget in the way they think about things to create great word of mouth.
Man, that I want to go even, because that's a subset of what you said. The great word of mouth is a subset of a great experience.
Correct.
I really like that. We've got budget for marketing. We got budget for the advertising. We got budget for all these things. You're saying have a budget for a great experience.
Yeah,
enough in your profit.
In 2005, when we published Call to Action, okay, and I remember a couple of retailers telling me about this story. There is a little sidebar in there where I talked about just the value of having either your own custom boxes or your own custom packing tape.
Really?
Okay.
Really?
And I can't tell you how many people told me that, you know, people would share pictures of their boxes because they knew it was coming because they saw it from the tape.
Mm.
And it's little things. The problem is it's always the little things that make the biggest difference in experience. There's no such thing as neutral in a customer experience. It's either a positive or a negative. And if you just think it's neutral, then good luck with that.
I just put this, you know, that's you know what? That is, man, okay, any rate. But you're shoring up the little things and the packaging and those. So I went to the conference. I told you I was at the TSP Game Plan Conference, man, and it was just, you know, another level. But it was the little things, right? So you get to the hotel, you get your room, they have branded cards and a branded holder. So when you get your cards, you know, it's those little things that really change the way you're like, oh, this is going to be good, even when you're checking in at the hotel. Good stuff.
Or even when you get this, like the swag bag from a conference,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
You get there, you have a full suitcase. You're not going to take most things back, but the person who throws something in there that's like, how am I going to fit this in my suitcase? Because this is definitely coming back with me. That brand you'll never forget.
Yes, that is so true.
And all the rest of them wind up in the hotel trash.
Yeah, they sure do. Man, that is too funny. That's too funny. All right, show me your card since we're talking. What was that you were showing us?
So this is the ViTag. You may remember Sean Jackson from old copy blogger, Brian Clark's partner.
Yes.
So he started this new business called the ViTag, and what this is so on the back you can get a little QR code, but it's an NFC chip, and so it's designed as, you know, to look like my last book, The Rice and Beans Millionaire, right? To help improv entrepreneur. But what's cool about it is there's a whole landing page behind this. But what I've done, and you'll see it soon, is I got together with my friend Brian Brushwood, who I mentioned in the book, who, by the way, this weekend came out with a new series on Disney Plus called Hacking the System.
Really? Okay.
You are going to like this show.
Okay. Yeah.
He is a besides a television host, he is a professionally trained magician. He's got two YouTube channels with one over 2 million subscribers, one 1.5 million subscribers, called Scam Nation and Modern Rogue. Just a brilliant guy, great storyteller. All this, coming out with a new book as well. And we sat together at the Wizard Academy in Austin, and he showed me a magic trick that you can use any kind of paperback book with.
Okay.
Now here's the thing. I will put the video out of the magic trick.
Yes.
If you want to learn how the magic trick is actually done, then you got to find me and tap the ViTag, and that will take you to the link that explains to him how he did it, and you could do it as well.
Very intriguing.
Got to make you work for it a little bit, right? But
yeah.
If you want that gift of understanding how the trick was done and how you can do a really easy trick anywhere.
Right.
By the way, a lot of his magic on one of his channels is all about how to get free bar drinks. So it's great for conferences. So I recommend watch a video or two beforehand.
That's a good one. We all need from free bar drinks. So your book, so he's turned your book into a V card, and Correct. Of course it's got a QR code. That what do I get with the QR code?
So once you get on there, you get the secret of this magic trick.
So that QR code gets you to the magic trick.
Correct. And of course there'll be a link there to the book if you want to buy it.
So when is this going to be ready?
Oh, it's ready. I just haven't uploaded the final video yet.
Oh, okay. So the page, so we can't show the QR code right now.
I can't show. Well, actually, they can. They'll see. They can.
By the time it comes out, boom, get that.
There you go. Well, I'll have to get it ready.
All right. Well, by the time it comes out, it should be up and running, because that way they can get something from the book, right?
Correct.
How to get to
They'll
the
get
book
this magic trick, and they'll get to
and the book.
understand how this is all done. Correct.
All right. Let's talk about the Rice and Beans Millionaire.
So this is a book I decided to write, firstly for my kids, right? You know, you've been an entrepreneur for a lot of years. I've been an entrepreneur for, again, more than half my life. And I realized that my kids really weren't around when the early days of being an entrepreneur. What prompted me to go from social work school to wanting to be an entrepreneur? And, here my daughter is about to go start her first full-time job, come June. And I wanted to be sure that they could go back and reference all the lessons I've learned from not only myself, but from other entrepreneurs like yourself and others on what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. And I started going around and asking my friends, I asked you as well, can you name a book that gives people the first principles or the fundamentals of being a great entrepreneur? Because if I told you, hey, you want to be a great basketball player, right? We all know, well, you got to be good at dribbling. You got to be good at passing. You got to, have court awareness. You got to be great at your shot. There's some very simple things that we all know that you got to be good at, right? If you want to be the next Steph Curry. We do this in soccer. If we do this in magic, if we do this in cooking, right? Think about it. Gordon Ramsay, right? Kitchen Nightmares. He goes ahead, he visits a restaurant, it's having problems. What's the problems? It all comes down to the same fundamentals. They don't clean, they pick bad ingredients. Excuse me.
Yeah. Food's too complicated.
The menu's too complicated. They haven't changed items. They're fundamentals. So let me ask you, what book out there is there that teaches any aspiring entrepreneur these first principles of being an entrepreneur? And people would name the E-Myth, which is a great book, but I think that's a little bit more advanced, right? And just as far as the journey of an entrepreneur. This is, I don't care if you're a day one entrepreneur or you've been an entrepreneur for 25 years. What happens is, just like that great restaurant, it might have been great day one because intuitively you knew how to take care of your customers and how to serve them properly and how to cook great food. But then over time, you started neglecting those fundamentals. And you started getting blind spots in your business. And this is a great book to look at it. And I purposely did from tech businesses to people who pick up junk for a living, okay, because they're all entrepreneurs, to young kids making money on Roblox. What are the key fundamentals that they all need in order to be successful entrepreneurs?
So you've got some very relatable characters, some great insights, and a good foundation for people to be successful entrepreneurs. And
correct.
No matter what age, really. Yeah,
and I've had an entrepreneur as young as 10 read the book already and get a lot out of it. And I've had entrepreneurs who've had $100 million exits, read it and then say, hey, I can't wait to share this with my kid. Okay. So, I think there's all kinds of opportunities there. Like I mentioned, even the budgeting of word of mouth, right? A lot of people don't even ever think about that from a perspective of how to drive more business. But today it's fundamental to understand that and to incorporate it. And I give a very practical story. There's a lot of real characters in the book that you might recognize. People like Peter Shankman is in the book that I mentioned him, Amanda Russell, my friend Joe Ferraro, Brian Brushwood's in the book, Daniel Whittington and Rex Williams from the Wizard Academy. And we talk a little bit about the Whiskey Vault and how they built a whole tribe around this. So, I mean, it's diverse and very real. Like, even though it reads like fiction, that it's grounded in reality. Yeah.
That is fantastic. All right, hold up the book one more time for him.
Well, and one more very important thing.
Yeah, that's very important.
It is. That's a chapter, man. That's it. Like, that's the whole chapter. There's not a chapter that should take you more than 4 minutes to read. Most chapters will take somewhere around 2.
Okay. All right. Bryan, hey, what was your background? When you were working, did you work in some firms or something, or?
So yes. So my first job was actually working at a video store that was right across the street from me.
Uh-huh.
That was my first regular job. I had always done entrepreneurial things. I always tried to do like photography, and I've shot like for catalogs and stuff like that. I have worked for companies like IDT in the past, and I helped them set up a network marketing company within them. That's a whole other story that we can't talk about on camera, but anyway, I started with selling the first IP phone computer to phone, and embedding it on websites in the very early days of the web. And that helped. After we started our first business, went bankrupt, daddy paying for groceries, we needed to refund ourselves, went to work, sold a bunch. I left early, brother kept working, and shortly after that we started our agency, and we haven't done that in a long time now. So yeah, that's kind of a quick rundown.
Yeah, well, I mean, you write, so you tell stories, so well in your writing. I thought you were going to have this big writing background. So you just, the first time you went, really?
I hated reading and I hated writing. In fact, I told the story recently. When I was a social worker, right, I had a job working independent living in Starrett City, New York, if you kind of know where that is. And we used to go from Starrett City to Bed-Stuy. First time I ever heard gunshots as I was getting out of the car.
Wow.
Okay. Anyway, I had a boss, Fred, who always used to ask me, said, "Hey, when are you going to write your book?" And I used to look at him like, "Fred, what have you been drinking lately?" Because he was a former, recovering alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
He had become homeless, lived on the Bowery.
Wow.
Was a former priest, and then got into social work. And I'm like, I had no clue what he ever meant. And I look back now and I'm like, we all got great stories in our lives. And I think, no matter how hard your life has been, how easy your life has been, you've got stories to tell, man. Stories that are powerful, that can impact other people. And so I think if we go back even to ancient man, one of the most common things is the person who had the most power was the person who stood by the fire and told stories. Yeah. And I think it's all of our jobs to be able to tell our stories. And look, we know, just looking at what's going around us, politically, culturally, our last generation didn't do a great job telling stories. And it's incumbent on us to be able to share our stories. And for me, it was one of the reasons why it was important to make sure that there's a lot of representation in the book, right? Ricky, the actual Rice and Beans millionaire, was, a Latin American young kid who was a real character that my dad met in the 1980s, who was bringing in close to $50,000 a week in cash to the bank.
Dang.
And I think if we don't take the time, and my brother and I used to tell the story between us all the time. Like, we used to joke, we need a rice and beans business. We can't think like he did. He was
Right.
brilliant.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. How many books have you written? How many books?
This is now my 8th book.
Wow. See, there you go.
Including one about baseball, but that's a whole different category.
But still, it's a book.
It's a book.
And you're telling stories, man. Bryan, I mean, this has been absolutely eye-opening, fantastic stuff. I got to ask you my last question that I always ask at the end of these interviews, and it is, what question did I not ask you that I should have asked you?
Man, we know each other a long time. I think you asked a lot of really good questions. Maybe what's coming next?
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with, chat, you play with Chat GPT and all that. It's
I've
like,
been playing a
You know,
lot.
wait,
With
wait,
that.
stop. Here's the thing. All right. You remember, this is how we met. We met going to IBM events where they were teaching us about AI, right? That
Correct.
was their big thing, was the Watson, the blah, 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 right? And how many years ago was that?
7, 8 years, probably.
Exactly, right? And it's like all of a sudden, as of yesterday, everybody's like, oh, AI, like it's a new thing, right? And so this is kind of weird to be able to talk to somebody that was actually on these tours with me, at the same time. But anyway, go ahead. What's your take right now?
Well, I think you hit it on the head, right? Which is exactly that. Everybody thinks technology is going to like come so fast and change the world. It doesn't. Just like overnight successes, ChatGPT is an overnight success. It's got millions of users. It still sucks. It's average at best. It will get better. No, I'm not saying it's not. Okay.
This is good.
But right now, yes, it will produce quick content for you. It's not amazing content. It's not remarkable content. It's not content that's going to get you a lot of attention. It's filler content. Does it have a place? Sure.
Absolutely.
It'll probably raise the bar of the worst content. But if you still want to be remarkable and stand out above the crowd, AI is not there yet. It's not going to be able to tell stories like we do here. It's not going to be able to tell stories like we did with Be Like Amazon, right? It'll tell you some facts about Amazon and stuff like that. But the story of Poobah and Sunshine in this book is not going to be the same. Like it just can't pull that together yet. It's going to take another probably 10 years until it gets to that level of creativity.
Awesome.
So enjoy it, but realize what it is and know that, yeah, it's going to play a role in the future.
Yeah.
And the question is, what's not going to change in the next 10 years that you can still focus on and capitalize on, right? That's how Jeff Bezos has made his fortune, by saying, hey, customers are always going to want things at a good price, shipped to them very quickly, with a lot of selection, and have a great customer experience. Never going to change.
Never going to change. Love it. Bryan, if people want to follow you, find your stuff, where should they go?
See, I would say they could chat GPT me, but even that description isn't that great, to be honest with you. Actually, I have not checked to see if ChatGPT would list all your social media places. That's going to be my next prompt. I'm going to try to. Well, I know if they put in social media accounts for John Lawson, there's no chance it's going to find it.
No chance.
Okay.
No chance. It doesn't really have a connector to the web, so it can't tell. It can't tell you who won the game last night.
Yeah, not yet. Eventually will. But yeah,
right.
but for me, you could Google me. You could find me everywhere. I'm on every social media. BryanEisenberg.com, BuyerLegends.com, Amazon. I'm not hard to find.
Awesome, Bryan. This is anyway. It's funny. I have this up. I said, "Who won the game last night?" I'm sorry, I don't have access to current sporting events.
Well, at least they came up with a good answer.
Yeah,
right?
That is a good answer, right? I don't know. Is a good answer for a lot of things. Man, it's been awesome talking with you. You hang out for a second, but all of you folks, you're out of here for now. So I got to say, peace. Thanks for joining.